Hello and welcome back to the Schooner Pod. I'm Bobby Howard. With me today, Jamison Maxwell, and we're here to talk about Oklahoma's 51-3 romp over the Temple Owls. The good, believe it or not, because we're OU fans, some of the bad, and really take on all of it. So Ty not here because he's hate watching DJU. Not really. He's actually just he ran into some traffic issues with the Grand Canyon. It was unfortunate, but no, Jamison, how are you doing? How have you enjoyed? Game one of the season?
Yeah, we covered the spread. So let's say some positive things because it's so easy as Oklahoma fans, and everyone wants to hear everything about what went poorly for OU because everyone's going to talk about the offensive line, the wide receiving crew, and that's going to get, that's the most ears, right? But in all honesty, we exceeded Vegas's expectations of us, and there's a lot of positive things from this game, but I hate it, but we're going to have to start talking about the offense first. So maybe some negatives come out.
Just a bit of negative because they asked Jackson Arnold about it after the game, and he immediately responded with, "We scored 51 points and won 51-3." But I mean, it definitely wasn't a perfect performance. It was a good performance. It was one to be happy about. But yeah, we should talk about the offense, and I think to me, the number one thing has to be the offensive line. This entire offseason, we were concerned about it. And we started hearing good stuff about it in camp. And, you and I and all of us around here were like, okay, love to hear it. Let's see it in the game. And it didn't look ideal. It did not look great at times. But, some of that has to deal with, you have to talk about injuries, some other stuff. But overall, let's just start with the O-line, Jamison.
Yeah,
a little bit of a frustrating thing.
It's okay to be frustrated about it because we were nervous about something. And it ended up, confirming our nerves about the offensive line. It's as simple as that. Whenever you are nervous about something and it fulfills itself, like if you were upset about this game, even though we covered the spread and we scored 51 points, you have every right to be.
At least from a offensive line performance situation. It's, maybe not upset, but concerned, I think is fair. To let a Temple team that was not very good. It was more concerning, to let a Temple defensive line and a Temple defense kind of, give you problems and, especially on third downs, 1 for 12. It's concerning. It's not a great sign, but there's a lot of other good things. So it's a mixed bag.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing is we're already concerned about our production at the offensive line, and they're already hurt right at the beginning, probably due to they're in a bunch of, position battles. They're, in the offseason, they're having to push themselves. Sometimes whenever you have the guys slated into starting roles, sometimes they could probably, take a little time off or not have to push as hard. But all these guys were going 100% because other than Sexton, I guess, there wasn't really, and Wee-Woo, there wasn't a guarantee that any of these guys were going to be starters. Hell, for Branson Hickman, we thought that Josh Bates was going to be a possible starter from what we were hearing in the offseason. All of a sudden, he doesn't even get batted an eye whenever Hickman goes down. What the hell's going on here?
Yeah, the Garen Hatchett thing was unexpected, I think. Because, it had gotten to the point where he was almost an afterthought when we were previewing the O-line.
Well, and the thing is, Hatchet, we had talked about, or in other sites that talked about what could happen if we moved Hatchet into center and maybe helped a little bit if Hickman is a little bit hurt. And we're not exceedingly happy with Josh Bates and obviously in what he did snapping the ball last season. You have to be a little tentative. But we didn't hear anything from practice reports about Hatchet getting much run as center. And on the TFB boards, their insiders said that, oh yeah, it's true. Because Hatchet didn't get much work at center until the very end of camp. So why did he get the nod above Bates? It's not because Bates was hurt, because Bates played this game.
Yeah, it's just interesting how that worked out. And, those reports, you do the best you can. But, yeah, definitely a shocker to see Hatchet out there as much as he was.
Yeah, and I mean, like, and he wasn't, you could tell he wasn't it. Whenever he was playing guard, something just didn't seem right. He's not 100%. You can tell he's not 100%. And then moving him into center, you could tell he was uncomfortable. And the whole line, really. I mean, like, and I hate we're starting off as like Doom's pod right now. But this is
Bunch
not
of
it.
doomers.
This is, not what this game. There's a lot of good things that we're going to talk about with the center team, but I don't blame this offensive line of playing not up to par of the expectations of Sooner fans, because within 10, 15 snaps, almost 80% of the line got switched into a different spot. And also at the beginning of the game, Tarquin goes over to right tackle, and we know from practice reports he's been playing left tackle this whole offseason. So also there's so much shifting going on that none of these guys probably felt comfortable with what they were doing out there. And the guy that was next to them probably in practice wasn't the guy that they played with in the game.
Yeah. And to me, I think that shows you that they're still working it out. They're still trying to figure out what the best unit is, and they're not there yet. And that's fine, because we still have a couple more weeks. Now, if they're still doing this by the time,
Tennessee,
Tulane,
no doubt.
Well, Tennessee, of course, but even like by the time Tulane rolls around, that's real cause for concern.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it makes you, I feel like we've always fallen back on like just believe in Beaton-Bow. He'll find his best 5 guys, and he goes through the thick of it to figure it out. And we can do that right now. Houston next week. Are you concerned about Houston? I don't want to be arrogant Sooner fan, but what they did versus UNLV was absolutely embarrassing. That was an absolute embarrassment of a program right there. You thought that maybe they could at least put up some points and just been poor defensively. They were poor on both sides of the ball. It's going to be another cakewalk of like, we can kind of just go experiment and have like a low risk environment playing Houston. So we can do this again next week.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, we'll talk more about Houston, a little bit more about Houston at the end of the show. But I mean, golly, that poor Willie Fritz has a lot of work to do. Way more work to do than I thought he did. That was brutal. And I liked UNLV. I picked him on the weekend spread. One of the few things I got right was that UNLV was going to win.
Yeah.
And just uninspiring performance from Houston. And I think the trenches were really the worst thing they did. So I'm not they're the perfect team to work out your issues on the O-line. So I think we'll see an improvement there.
Yeah, I'm curious though, Bobby, just looking forward into next game, who do you think's going to trot out there with the first unit? You would think Jake Taylor is going to come off of his little, nagging injury that they kind of held him out as a quote unquote precaution. And he'll slot in right tackle. Spencer Brown, man, I understand. I listened to Gabe and Teddy's podcast this weekend, and Gabe did an interesting segment about what everyone was clowning Spencer Brown for also was a wee-woo problem. But still, by the eye test, you could tell Spencer Brown did not have the mobility and athleticism needed to be an offensive tackle in the SEC. You could just tell his feet were bricks. And the writing's on the wall with him. Jake Taylor, he's been through the program. He's the guy at the right tackle. I don't think we see Spencer Brown with that first unit.
No. And, I think that's just an unfortunate sign there, but, that's just kind of how it is. I think, sometimes you get a portal guy and you take a swing on him, and I'm not waving him off or anything, but he definitely feels more like a depth type of ad at this point rather than a major contributor.
Yeah, he's that tackle that you have, and you're like, at least he can go out and do the movements, but I'm not exceedingly happy if he's out there. And so be it. Sometimes it's, valuable to have those kind of guys on your roster. But at the same time, whenever the second unit came in, like Heath Ozeda, Logan Howland, even Josh Bates a little bit, like, did I think that the second unit offensive line was looking better than the first? Maybe. Was their competition a little bit different than the first unit? Yes. But still, like, Heath Ozeda, like, all the positive things you heard about him, like, when is it going to be where he gets put into the first unit? And it seems like this, coaching staff and Beaton-Bow really want to have Sexton as a tackle. They did so much in moving, Tarquin over to right tackle, to where I would not be surprised at all if you just say, screw it, let's put Sexton at left tackle, because that's what we want him at. And then Ozeda, you can get your guard position, and Tarquin, even though he was fine, I don't have anything bad to say about him. I wouldn't be surprised if they start really rotating those second unit in with the first unit. All right. I think I lost. Nope. Bobby's just lagging.
Son of a gun. Yeah, my Wi-Fi is like not doing great. I keep getting the multiple little lines, but I feel like to me the second unit, they did look better. Yeah, and some of that is apples to oranges, a little difficult given that and I felt like the second unit was allowed to do a little bit more. They seemed like they just had more. I think this was a pretty bread and butter offensive play calling for the main unit, but like Hawkins, Tatum, like they had a little bit more space to run, do some different stuff. But yeah, no, I think everything's up in the air. I think everything's on the table. Beanbo made it clear with how much he rotated the line.
Yeah, I think that week 2 we come out probably, and I know that this coaching staff really wants Sexton at tackle, and it's just hard for me to go down. But after that, I really think they're going to keep Sexton at guard, probably do Tarquin left tackle, left guard, Sexton, then center Hatchet, right guard Wee Woo, then right tackle Jake Taylor, and then have a quick trigger to move people around again.
Yeah, that sounds like a reasonable, solid unit, but you never know at this point. Okay, so we've talked about the O-line. I don't want to immediately dive into the wideouts. I don't want the first, because then the first 20 minutes of the show would be about doom and gloom for a game we won by 48. But let's move into Jackson Arnold's debut. So, his regular season starting debut. Let's be honest, this was the real deal. So, Arnold, I felt like had almost an understated game. I mean, it was really good. I thought it was really good when you go back and look at the tape. He had some incredible balls, just incredible passes. He did have the lowest passing yard total since, essentially that 2022 Red River game where we played a tight end most of the time. But the four touchdowns was solid on the ground. Made good decision making. No turnovers. After hearing
that was a big deal. That's a huge deal.
I will say I was impressed. What about you, Jamison?
Yeah, him not having a turnover in this game could have made real Schooner fans spiral into the depths. Like, there's already some, the message boards are still very, very, thick right now, but even just one interception could have spiraled fans. He made good decisions. He was smart. He was very cognizant of all of the decisions he made. And he made a couple of plays that were like a wow. Him stepping up the pocket, hitting Farouk on that deep ball. That was like everyone's been clipping that. The Bauer Sharp was a great throw as well. Had great touch on it. The JJ Hester drop was an incredible throw. He had a lot of throws where you go, wow, now that is the type of guy that we signed and thought that we were getting. That's the 5-star guy. But, he's still young. So there's a lot of things that came to him a little bit later. And he was, a little thinking about it a little too hard, you could tell. But he made a lot of those wow plays that you really get excited about what he can be as he continues to get more reps.
Without a doubt. I mean, some of those passes were just complete jaw-dropping. And, to me, I think he did everything you need to do in a Temple game. A game you're not showing too much off of, and I'm fine with it. I'm happy with that performance. I think it's very good. I think any issues with the offense are just kind of an overall thing. He was, unfortunately, I felt like sacked or rushed a little too often. Given the fact that they just couldn't convert on third down, which was a little weird against Temple. But I don't think it was necessarily a Jackson Arnold issue. I think some of it had to do with some vanilla play calling. But overall, I thought he was very impressive.
But shouldn't you also be able to just have your way with Temple with vanilla play calling? So is that really like a good argument? Like still, I still think it was stellar. But at the same time, like 140 passing yards, it's a little sad. But that could have changed where I think it was the beginning of the second half. You can correct me if I'm wrong, or if someone knows, they can correct me. But there was a play where at the snap, I think we got a false start, and you could tell it was a Brennan Thompson deep ball, and he was already off the line of scrimmage going. and he was going. And that was just a guaranteed. I don't think anyone on Temple's roster is stopping, Brendan Thompson in a deep ball. And that's going to be a touchdown right there. If he got a good break off the ball, that's going to be a touchdown. And that's what, 75 yards there. That changes the whole, stat sheet.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so any final words on Jackson Arnold before we move on? Because
I'm excited about him this year. I really think this was a pivotal game for him and his confidence. And I think that him not turning the ball over is very, very important. He did exactly what he needed to do. And you can tell he has a bond with Deion Burks. And that is exactly what you need. You got a guy who's been out there and done that like Deion Burks, and he's absolutely stellar route runner. And he's going to be his quarterback's best friend.
Absolutely. And we should immediately talk about Deion Burks. What a debut for him. 6 receptions. Obviously, the receiving yards didn't look massive, but 3 touchdowns. And you can tell that that Burks and Arnold already have a really good connection. And this combo is going to be lethal this season for the Sooners.
Yeah, I was laughing so hard because we've been joking about it this whole offseason, Bobby. Just wait till Latrell goes out there and throws a jet sweep as the first play of the game. It was pretty damn close in being a reverse to Deion Burks. And I'm like, yes, get the ball in Deion Burks' hands no matter what. And if it was a jet sweep, I think that maybe he wanted to do a jet sweep, but he knew he couldn't. So he did the closest thing he could of giving Deion Burks the ball in a guaranteed environment. And that's being a reverse play.
It's like we're just going to give him a little bit of a treat because we're going to mess with them just a little bit. But I mean, oh my God, what a play called.
I legitimately yelled, and Ashley was like, "What?" It was like a 6-yard, 4-yard game. I was like, "You don't understand. You don't understand the act of reverses and jet touch passes in this offense."
Jet touch pass. If only it worked as well in real life. But no, Burks, I thought he was really good. I'm really excited to see more. But we do got to note just overall with wideouts, the depth is a problem. No Nick Anderson in this game. I believe no Andrew Anthony as well. And it showed that this team, I think we talked about it a little bit on our offensive preview. It's like weirdly not that deep on the wide receiving core. You have a lot of options, but beyond that, it's a little thin. And, I thought JJ Hester was not very impressive. I felt like if we don't have, and not only that, but Jaleel Farouk going down was just brutal for 6 to 8 weeks with that foot injury.
And it's going to be longer than 6 weeks, guys. Just throw that away if you're thinking 6 weeks. It's a guy with the same foot injury I'm pretty sure, didn't he have a foot injury in the past? What did he have in the past?
I don't recall.
There's something in my head telling me he's already had a foot injury, but people can check that out. Someone tell me in the comments if I'm wrong on that one. But, a broken foot, 6 weeks, it's part of the return to play, but he's not going to be 100% then. And if you're looking to get back to Jaleel Farouk that we know, it's concerning.
It's the same foot he injured and kept him out of camp. So
yeah, so there you go.
That's not great.
So there you go.
Purple in the comments did ask, do we feel better about losing Farouk after the Burks performance? And
no,
not really, because it's like a depth thing. I love Burks. We clearly have a WR1 that is a star. Overreaction time, of course, but I kind of think he could be a Biletnikoff level type of guy. That's how much I liked him.
It's going to be hard this year with the wide receivers out there, but he could turn himself into a first-round wide receiver.
He's damn good. But that doesn't make for me, it's more of yes, we have the star power, but the depth is the concerning thing. And
we knew what we were getting with Burks, right? We knew this guy was WR1, nothing about it. He's going to be stellar for us. What we're worried about is we said, in the spring, this wide receiving room is probably one of our deepest rooms, definitely the most deep on offense, and we feel very good about it. But it's like the tumbling tower. They take away Jaden Gibson. You're like, the tower's still standing, but let me tell you something. If you take another thing away from our tumbling tower, it's going to start to wobble. And, I'm starting to a little worry about it. And I said it, and I think Ty gave me a lot of flack for it in the offseason. And the reality of it is Jaleel Farouk going down, this this tower is wobbling and we need to find some kind of stability piece in it. And someone needs to step up and show something. And JJ Hester didn't look like to be that part. And then right after he had his drop, they put an Ivan Carey on. Do you want a true freshman who's already a developmental project to be a guy to come in as wide receiver 3 for this team? No. So yes, I agree with you, Bobby. It's a depth thing, and there's still a lot to be seen. And I'm hoping there's got to be some kind of move where they move. Can they move Petaway to the outside? Can he not just be a sole slot guy? Can Brennan Thompson work on his route running a little bit better and get more open? I don't know. There's a lot of question marks here, and we're gonna have to put a lot of it into Brennan Thompson. Is my thought.
Yeah, I mean, clearly they really do like Thompson, and he's going to get a lot of burn. Apparently, Andrew Anthony did play. I picked that back.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I totally missed him. But no, I mean, it is absolutely a question. We're already, hurting, just in general.
This hurt
it's
already is crazy
bad
at the beginning of the season.
Right. It's really frustrating and unfortunate. I will say one thing that can help. I thought that Bauer Sharp was really good as a tight end.
Yep.
I thought Jake Roberts, obviously didn't make a catch or anything, but he was, I think the presence of him out there helps as well. So tight end play could be pretty big here.
Yeah, you can tell night and day that this tight end room is more revitalized. Bauer Sharp made a hell of a route whenever he was trying to get healthy as Jackson extended the play on that touchdown pass. It's going to be a little different. You could tell we played a lot of, like 2 tight end sets as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like this offense is shifting a little bit, and it's going to have to shift, with our wide receiver depth, where I wouldn't be surprised you see, Jake Roberts and you see Bauer Sharp out there, and you put Nick Anderson and Deion Burks out wide, and just see what you can do in a 1-2 set and just see what happens. 12 personnel might have to be our answer.
And I'm fine with that. I'm cool with that. I think that's, I kind of like, the idea of, just having a nice beefy personnel out there, just throw it out there. It seems fun.
It should help with the offensive line too, right?
Yeah.
And we need to establish our run game a little bit better, and that might help them too. I think the wide receiving room should be okay, Bobby, if we adjust accordingly and we force feed Deion Burks. And I mean force feed him. Like, you give him 14 targets a game.
Like D.D. Westbrook, level.
Exactly. And it's going to be efficient, and it's going to pay dividends by doing that, right? Because he's that talented and he can get open as many times as you want. And another thing that I heard on Gabe and Teddy's podcast, Gabe's always rolling around on the sideline. You can tell Deion Burks was coming to the sideline, and he's like that type of wide receiver, is like pissed he didn't get the ball each time. So if he's going to be like that, we can work him into the ground and give him those 14, 15 targets. And I think he'd be happy, and this offense would do well.
I love it. Burke seems like a really big personality to me, which I think is that's really fun. So yeah, give Burks a rock. That's the plan. He is the star of the wideouts by far. You did mention something about establishing the run a little bit. That was a point that I don't want to say I was disappointed with the run game, but it was definitely not a strength. I feel like in terms of, I don't think there was just a standout performer. Everyone just kind of did pretty good. When you look at the guys who really, really played, Sawchuk didn't do really anything. No. Javonte Barnes had a couple good carries, but really, the stars of the running game were, Taylor Tatum and Sam Franklin at the very, very end, who I thought both looked very good. But again, second team offense in a blowout. So you have to take it with a grain of salt, but wow, Tatum, very excited about that guy.
Yeah, Tatum you get excited about the way that he was running the ball, and I understand some of those Temple players out there looked like some of the players he was playing in high school in Texas. So, is it
like Temple High School?
Well, there we go. I was disappointed with Sawchuk. I was hoping to see some big plays, but he'll have his time in the sun. He was a little slow to come on last season. Maybe not this season, but I'm not gonna actually take that to heart and make my opinion of him change just based off of a Temple game. Javonte Barnes, though, Bobby, let's talk about him because he was running with some attitude. You could tell that athleticism was a little bit there. He had that, I hate this, Bobby. I feel like we play too much college football 25, but it's like, like this new the new one this year, like when they get an open space, they get that extra little boost of speed to them.
Yeah.
Javonte's got that extra little boost of speed to him whenever he gets the ball in his hands, and I like it.
He hits the R2 button. Yeah, I love
Yes,
that.
he does.
Yeah, he looks like a different guy. He looks like the Javonte Barnes we remember from earlier in his career that we thought would be a really solid 1-2 punch with Gavin Sawchuk. I was encouraged by it. The numbers don't really back it up, but that doesn't really matter. I think it was a good performance. I was excited about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this running back room. So you're taking about this offense we talked about. Is like, where do you think your viewpoint of the offensive line was compared to preseason to postseason? It's gone down a little bit. Quarterback's just about the same for me, maybe a little bit higher actually. But this running back room, I think it took a good bump because I feel good with this depth. And Taylor Tatum was as advertised. And Javonte Barnes is kind of, taking away some of my fears about him, what he did last year.
Oh, absolutely. No, like the depth is legit. Like, and, even you understand why people were even talking about Sam Franklin quite a bit as well, because he looked damn good. Like as well as a
you got like the one hole the whole time of the offensive line where they actually got a straight shot at the secondary.
It's great.
It's Sam Franklin dreads. Oh,
there you go. Yeah. No, but I like that room. I think it's really deep. All right, you want to give out game balls?
Yeah. Mine's Jackson Arnold. It's going to be very, very generic, but I think it was very important for the trajectory of this season for him to have a good game and a game that is sound and non-turnover strapped. And we got that. I don't care about the 141 passing yards. His confidence is so key for the ceiling of this team, and him going out there throwing 4 touchdowns, having an effortless game, I thought was a big time win for us.
Yeah, no doubt. I think Arnold definitely is a really good. Yeah, I think there are really only 2 solid contenders offensively for the game ball, and I think Arnold's definitely up there. Yeah, this is
Spencer Brown.
We're not going to Sam Brown. We're not going to Spencer Brown. I'm rolling with Deion Burks as my game ball. I thought it was a great debut, and it really helped quell some concerns about. Like, imagine if he just didn't have, if he had even a mediocre game, like how panicked we'd be about the wide receiver room. I think he's a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel of a bit of a shaky situation. So for me, I'm going to give it to Deion Burks, but I think Jackson Arnold as well, very well-rounded, very good stuff. Really helped quell some concerns that we've had this offseason. So very pumped about that.
Yeah. I'm really excited about it. Let's talk about defense, Bobby.
Oh yeah. What a unit. What a damn unit. So, I mean, this is everything you want to see just out of a defense that you think is going to be at this level. I know it's just Temple. I saw the broadcast when I'm watching this back that the Temple quarterback's last start was at what was it, like Santa Monica Community College or something?
Yep, that's exactly right. And it just we laughed whenever that came out. I'm sorry, poor guy.
I don't want to say it because we've already mentioned it, but what the hell was EA Sports thinking? Like, how was he that good? Anyways, yeah, that makes me even more mad about that what transpired there. But wow, what a defensive performance! 6 takeaways, most in a game since I believe 2000. Was it 2003?
You're the history guy. I don't know my history.
It was the most since one of those Texas blowouts. So it would have been 2003. Just an incredible performance, incredibly exciting on multiple fronts. And I think you got to start on the defensive line. What a dominant performance from a unit that, at points before the Dominic Williams edition, we were, weren't quite sure on. They were excellent. They were excellent.
Yeah, dude. And Dominic Williams just did exactly what he thought he was going to be, just be a stalwart in the middle of the defense, and didn't really give up much at all. Same thing with Jane Jackson, man. I see what they're saying, and see why he's getting that start, man. Like he might not. You'll pull up the box score and you'll be like, oh, I don't see much of Jaden Jackson. Like no. Yeah, I don't care. You only got one tackle. This dude disrupts everything, and he goes out there and makes the right plays. Like them in the interior, and the way DJ Terry played too. DJ Terry played really damn good. Like those threes, like I feel pretty damn good about the interior now.
Hell, Grayson Halton had a pretty damn good game too.
MVP right there.
A guy who we've been calling out. We've been like, this is your time to step up and do it. And again, only Temple. But damn, that was a good performance. That is the type of performance you want to see.
He needed that, and I think the OU defense needed someone to step up to take them to the next echelon of, like tier, because we're pretty damn good. Like this defense is a top 10 defense in the country, but there's still a couple of spots where we could have room for improvement. And Grayson Halton going out there and being aggressive, being in the right place, getting TFLs, forced fumbles, man, he was exceptional. And I really hope he keeps that consistency for the rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing that I'm excited about this line. This is by far the, one of the most important positions that you have to figure out for the SEC. Happy to see him do it. Any other standouts on the line?
Yeah, I mean, Ethan Downs did what he's supposed to do, made a great veteran play coming back behind the ball, getting the turnover and the forced fumble. He was just as good old Ethan Downs, exactly what you expected. The younger guys, Marcus Strong looked really damn good. He was very disruptive, having 2 sacks. I think that this defensive line, it's crazy to say this, but these 2 new additions in Jaden Jackson and Dominic Williams propelled this to the most concerning position that we had probably in the offseason in the spring, to now maybe top 3 position group, top 2 position group that overall, we have. Yeah. I would say number 3 behind, the safeties and the linebackers, but 3 easily.
Yeah. I'd put it ahead of anything on the offense.
And let's say just the interior. I think the interior is number 3. If you could take the edges out of it, and I mean the edges did okay, but like the interior might have been second to last. If we were talking in the spring, now it's like top 3 for me.
And granted, it is weak competition. I feel like we've had early season games in the past where like, oh my god, the defensive line, they figured it out, and then they run into like Kansas State and get their ass beat. So you never know. But
didn't Reggie Grimes have like 4 sacks in like the first game or something, and then just an absolute just potato for the rest of the season?
Yeah. So maybe we're a little too excited. I'm still excited about it.
It's the eyeball test for me, Bobby. Really, it's not like Reggie Grimes, Steph in the stat sheet. It's like Jaden Jackson, Dominic Williams just look like absolute just beaters out there.
Yeah, and I think that's where it is. It's the eye test. They look like big SEC caliber, defensive linemen, and that's the exciting thing for sure. Mm-hmm. All right, let's move back a row. Start talking about the linebackers here. What else could you expect but just immaculate performance across the board? Obviously, Danny Stutzman, leading in that unit excellently, but also Kip Lewis came back, also great. Lewis Carter, another excellent performance there. It's a great unit.
Yeah, Kip getting the start next to Danny, kind of what is expected from the season, but I really like how they rotated this position. There's offensive line rotating on one side where it's like, how dare you? What is like the one meme or it's like the guy comes in, it's like, hey honey, how are you doing? It's like, oh, hey.
the HR, please.
Yes. So it's like you call HR on the offensive line, but if you rotate the linebackers like they did, oh man, I got hard eyes because they put Danny with Kip, they put Danny with Kobe, and then you switch. You got a little bit of everything. You got every single combination down to seeing. I don't even know. I mean, like we really just weeded out as much as we could at that inside linebacker position. Lewis Carter played well. all in all, like, is there anything to be concerned about this? No matter what down, no matter who we have out there, they're going to go out there and do great things. And I think I feel very confident in this group.
Yep. They were solid. They took care of business. It was exciting. Obviously, shout out Jared Kanek as well for his little touchdown. That was great. Good to see him out getting some action as well. Big year for him. Yeah, no, it was a good unit. All right, corners. What do you think about that?
I want to do one last thing on like linebacker-ish, because like we forget about talking about the cheetah because we never know when to put it in. Kendall Dolby just looks so damn good. He's just so good. He's a guy that I've really liked for the past couple seasons, and it just makes you feel so much better about the position compared to what we had in Desan McCullough. We found something by putting him there, and even though he's not the perfect, cookie cutter fit for what Venables wants, and a guy like that, man, he plays bigger than the way he is, and he flies across the field. He's a disruptor. And whenever you're still working on your defensive ends, getting pressure on the quarterback, if you can have Kendall Dolby coming full speed already at the quarterback, he's extremely disruptive, and I'm really excited to see how he goes into conference play.
Absolutely. It is unique because he is not a prototypical cheetah, but the speed, the just chaos he brings, that like tip he had that started the interception was I mean, he's excellent. It's very exciting.
He's probably one of my favorite players on the defense, straight up.
Oh, I love that.
I mean, like, there's like obvious guys. Everyone loves Danny. Everyone loves, the safeties and Bowman and Bowen. But like at the same time, like, Dolby, I've loved him, and I think he needs to get more shine.
I agree. I agree. And I think him being in this position is going to help. Like, just settle on it. Like, this is him. Put him in pen, not pencil. This is his spot. It's excellent.
Yeah, when Sammy Omasigo came in, and he did not bring the exact same thing that Dolby did. He's not nearly as fast. I mean, he's a bigger body, but also he's not as comfortable with the position as is Kendall Dolby. But at the same time, I still feel good about Omasigo too. He still showed a lot of good things, and I hate to just put down Desan McCullough, but it's not surprising to me you see him on the inside linebacker position group. On the depth charts rather than you talk about Cheetah, because I think that the way he's played has moved to the wayside for those two, the way they've been playing.
It's not a positional fit if you can't get back, if you cannot cover, like it's a disqualifying. It's a disqualifier. You cannot play Cheetah if you cannot cover, because you can make up for a lack of size, something like that, and your tenacity, your ability to bring chaos, mix it up. That's exactly what Dolby's doing. You can't be a liability in the passing game because you'll get picked on, and there's nothing, and the whole defense falls apart if you get picked on in the passing game.
Yep, totally agree. Yeah, let's move into the secondary now. I agree.
Yep.
I think
you got it.
I think with the secondary, you're not going to really see too much whenever you play a team like Temple. Can I really talk much about the cornerbacks? I don't really have anything to say about them. And I think it's completely okay if we don't try to say words about them, because there really isn't much to say. We can just move on from the cornerbacks. I like the way Billy was playing, but all in all, I feel like this segment talking about the secondary could be very, very quick.
Yes, because there was that's the thing. You don't have a lot of people throwing on you. You can't really. There's not much really to do. I think of note, secondary wise, it's intriguing that Woody Washington, I don't believe got burned. I seem to.
Yeah,
I heard people say
start.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest question. So, technically off the field thing in terms of like we don't know what the hell.
I think he's been banged up too.
Yeah, I'm not saying he did something wrong off the field, just technically not something that happened within the gridiron of the game. So maybe an injury thing. I hope he gets better. Bit question. I'm sure we'll get a little bit more clarity at the Brenton Venables presser. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. But really not a lot to write home about with the defensive backs.
And I Walker and Des Malone, some people may say that's CB 3 and 4. Gentry Williams did play, but he has been banged up as well. Kanai and Dez, that's you've got some length back there at that position group, and they did well for what they needed to do in this game. So I think that we should be comfortable. I mean, not as much. You can still have some worries because your top two guys aren't fully healthy right now. But you can be pretty comfortable that your CB3 and CB4 are Des Malone and Kanai Walker.
Yeah. And Kanai got that nifty little pick too. It was nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Jacoby Johnson's super fun to cheer for at the cornerback position. He'll continue to show some flashes throughout the season. I'm excited to see what he will be moving into next season whenever there's going to be a lot of room in that cornerback room to go and shine.
For sure. I also really liked what we briefly saw of Boganowski. I thought he was fun.
Dude, he came down and everything you've been saying, he just comes down and hits people. He did it in the game.
The one play where he just comes out of nowhere. There's a little scrum and he just comes in and boom, brings the hammer. It was so fun.
In middle school, I mean, not as much for you because you were just an absolute beast, but I guess for me, like middle school football, it's like you get in and it's like the third and fourth unit and there's a big scrum, like you said, and you're like, I gotta get a tackle recorded on my. So they used to put up our stats, like right in like whenever we had our snack, like in the morning, they put up the stats where you could see how many tackles everyone got. And so what I would do, it'd be like a bunch of people trying to tackle. We're just middle schoolers, so we can't get people done. I'd run in, I'd hop on the pile at the end. Boganowski does that, but he comes in like a man and hits people hard.
He's actually hitting someone. He's not just trying to jump on top of the pile and make sure his numbers are aimed toward the camera, like.
No, and he's moving. Yeah, and that's another thing. I don't think I really thought about. How could you see my number whenever I was in the pile afterwards? I could trick some people into tackles. I know I got a lot of tackles that I actually didn't really get in middle school because of doing that. Because I cared about the stats.
You're out here. You're tackle. You just wanted to get the little involvements. It was great. That's fun.
Yeah, but Boganowski's fun. This young safety room, Bobby, it's like whatever we heard from the offseason and what we heard about them coming in, it fits the bill. Jaden Hardy getting an interception. He looked great. Boganowski, we already talked about him. And then the older guys like Robert Spears-Jennings, I don't care about that late hit. Screw that. That was fun. Good for him. I like the attitude he brings to the table. This is not your Buki late hit. Get out of here. RSJ, he can have a late hit. I like RSJ.
Yeah, no, RSJ can definitely. You can have a little late hit as a treat. It's simple. It's fine.
Yeah, it's totally fine. He Bowman and Bowen did what they needed to. Bowman, you could tell he had control of the defense. It just seemed like he was going through the motions, been there, done that kind of thing. So all in all, like this safety room, what we talked about in the past, like this is by far our most talented room. You've got top end talent, a guy that could be the best safety in the country. You've got young guys with potential, and you've got a young guy who could be a future star. And then you've got Robert Spears-Jennings, who is just like a stalwart, just steady guy that what you're going to get from him. It's a perfect room, and let's see what happens whenever they go against a guy like Donovan Smith, who can really challenge him.
Is Donovan Smith even going to play? Like, there's a chance he might get benched, man. Like, he was awful against UNLV.
Dude, I don't know what the hell is going on. We'll save that for the. I still got some things to say because that was weird.
We finally have a non-con game that we can talk about. We're using it before we get to actually talk about them. Do we want to give out game balls?
Let's talk about Tyler Keltner.
Well, for sure. Well, Keltner gets the game ball of everyone. I didn't realize we lumped special teams in with the defense, but I'm down to just talk about Tyler Keltner any day.
Yeah,
first kicker to ever get a little graphic on our YouTube channel, which you should subscribe to if you're listening on a podcast. It's always fun doing that. But dude, we have a kicker now. Like Tyler Keltner, he's the man. He's the truth. I'm a believer. SEC special teams player of the week, our first SEC award. It goes to
Florida
Tyler
State
Keltner.
Kickers are built different. And aside, Florida State's losing 14-3 right now, near the end of the second quarter.
No, really?
Yeah. So carry on. We're not gonna. Y'all are already gonna know what the result of. But this is Monday night at 8:45 Eastern. So there's still some things to be determined. But I hate to lump this into the same category. but it's similar that I think there's a lot of worry about the kicker position. And if he would have went out there and he would have missed a kick in the first, quarter, like when he went out for that 50+ yarder, I was like, this could be bad. Like I'm worried if he misses this, like it's going to turn confidence away and fans are going to mutter and they're going to be like, well, at least, Zach Schmidt can kick the ball out of the end zone on the kickoffs. But then Tyler Keltner did everything right and they looked good. And they had some good height to it as well. Some of those Zach Schmidt balls, they just didn't look good off the hold. Tyler Keltner's looked good.
It did. Like it was. His kicks were crisp. The 50-yarder was a banger. I believe that was the first 50-yard field goal made by a Sooner since 2021. So like
since Burkich,
pre-burrito Burkich. So pretty big time kick there, which was great to see. Obviously perfect on extra points. Love to see that. Wow, weird typo. Fields goals. Anyways,
Justin Fields.
I was just so
the Chicago Bear.
I was just so no. I was just so excited. I was so excited about it that I added multiple fields, But no, he was good. I'm excited. We have a kicker. I feel comfortable about it. We'll see how it goes as the season progresses. But nice veteran kicker. I'm cool with it.
I will say this. I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer, but we are very, very hot and cold fans. And we are on the very hot side with Keltner, and that's great. Continue to do that, but also this was a guy that there was a chance that Zach Schmidt might usurp him in the offseason because there are some worries. So if he misses some kicks, give him some slack because what we saw in this game showed you have a guy that we can believe in as a kicker, but he is human, and we should give him some slack if something bad happens. I think it's simple as that. You should still feel confident in Tyler Keltner, even if he goes out there and he misses a 40-something yard field goal.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. And, I think you should always give the kicker a little bit of slack because being mean to him, nothing good's going to happen out of that. So,
No, support our kickers.
Support our kickers. Okay, let's pivot back to defense proper. Game balls for that?
I think Grayson Halton has got to be it because that was a guy who needed to go out and prove something, and he played a near perfect game. He was all over the box score. He was impacting the game, and it was a guy that we had questions for, and he answered a lot of questions, even though it was Temple. That's exactly the type of guy that deserves a game ball, a guy who did the most statistically, as well as a guy that needed to prove something, and he did it.
Yeah. For sure. And I think that's a great choice. But, none of this would be possible without someone who laid the foundation for this, and that's Delaren Turner-Yell, who gets my game in the Temple game.
That's a really good idea. Damn.
No, if I had to actually give one, it's tricky because they're all damn good.
Hey, you just pick Grayson Halton. You don't have to pick something different.
It's Grayson Halton. He was great. Literally take your pick. I'm gonna go Kendall Dolby because I think he's fun. I thought he did a lot of good stuff, creating chaos and really solidifying what that cheetah position is going to be going forward. Yeah, the defense was great. It was really, really good. It's exciting, for sure. Anything I'm trying to. It's always weird talking about anything with the game, like game day stuff, when only one of us was there.
Gronk. Baby Gronk.
Oh God,
we have to talk about Baby Gronk. Did you watch his music video?
I did. Where our tailgate is kind of in the background, and it was just I look up, I'm like, oh no.
I was watching it downstairs, like in my basement, and Ashley was like right above me, and she's like, "What are you listening to?" And I'm like, "I'm listening to Baby Gronk's new single. What are you talking about?"
For the record, it should be established that we're a Rizzler podcast. We're pro Rizzler on this show. We do not stand for Baby Gronk. He is not welcome on our campus.
Trapped. He's gonna come out. He's gonna have a Hulu documentary of him in 10 years about how his dad trapped him.
Yeah, it's really messed up stuff, and I feel bad even giving oxygen to it, but it's yeah, it was a thing that
he is an Oklahoma commit, Bobby. So we have to talk about these things.
Cruton corner for Baby Gronk. Oh God. Jesus. No, I thought the game day atmosphere was good though. Like I think everyone was like solid tailgating for a Friday night. I thought the attendance was good, given the whole Friday thing. The Walk of Champions moving closer to the party at the Palace was a smart idea. I thought that was great. Toby Keith tribute between third and fourth quarter, Jamison. What'd you think of that?
I didn't really see too much on the TV stream. They cut it in a little bit late, and I watched the videos of it, but I feel like you really can't do justice unless you tell me how it was in person, because it's all about a noise thing and a vibes thing, and you really can't catch that through the streams.
I think the vibe was kind of there, but the problem
was it forced? Did it feel forced?
It did feel well. I feel like honoring Toby Keith was not forced. The problem is, I think the song was a bad choice. Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue is just kind of a weird move for a multitude of reasons, some of which I won't talk about on the podcast. But it just, I don't know. I don't think everyone knows.
Is there a good song though? I think we've been talking about this for a while. There's not a good song.
I don't think there is. I don't think there is anything really singable with Toby Keith. You have moments. You have like the most singable songs are the ones you literally cannot sing at the OU game. One of which being I Should Have Been a Cowboy, which is by far the most singable one. And then I Ain't As Good As I Once Was, which is also not good for a program that hasn't won a title since the year 2000. So that limits you a bit. But I don't know. I don't know if it is the answer. I understand that some of it is just, with what happened and everything, you kind of attribute's fine.
Are we trying to make this like a thing, where every single game we do this?
I don't know if it's this song specifically or a tribute every game or a different Toby Keith song, or if we find the right one and then we do it every game. But it seems like they're trying to lean into it as a thing. In the same way that OSU does Friends in Low Places or Florida does Won't Back Down. But the problem is those songs work. Like this, he just doesn't have a song that works in the catalog, which is just really tricky. But yeah, I don't know.
Maybe we should just sing the Baby Gronk new single at the third and fourth quarter.
No, we bring the boom, Jamison.
I'm like want to crawl out of my body every time I see that.
It's so bad.
But I like it. I do like it.
Okay, this kind of doesn't fit in the whole just random news and notes, but we totally forgot about it in a way. Zach Alley calling the defense. Good stuff.
Needed.
Absolutely
super
needed. So good. I thought he killed it. I'm pumped about it. So I thought he did a good job. What else? They brought back the Hey song.
Really?
You kind of remember that from when we were kids, we're gonna beat the hell out of you.
Yeah, that's that was a big deal. That was fun.
Yeah, OU brought them back. So the team now runs when they run out of the tunnel, they run through the Pride of Oklahoma. Like they have this giant band tunnel thing, and then they play it as the other team's running out. It's really cool.
Because I know they changed up the timing of how the teams run out of the tunnel now. Yeah,
but it works, I think, because the band is playing a song that's like "We're gonna beat the hell out of you," which is cool. It is funny that on the video board it says "We're gonna beat the heck out of you."
There we go.
So I know you love a good little censorship detail.
Did they play Crazy Train?
They did. They did play Crazy Train.
Don't take my Crazy Train away from me.
I don't think it was in the traditional spot, but it was definitely there. It was definitely there in pregame. But
okay, at least they played it in the pregame.
Yeah, but overall, cool experience. Super trippy seeing all the new SEC flags. Like whenever they do, the band does the pregame and on the scoreboard, just weird looking up and saying, "Oh, why is Georgia's flag here?"
Can I say something about those flags?
What?
I felt like they tried too hard to put them in a specific order. I would have just appreciated just a randomization of them. You could tell they tiered it based off of who we care about the most, or a rivalry standpoint. Because it was Texas and then Missouri and LSU all up at the front. And I was like, I would have, I don't know. This is so minor. And I don't care.
That's actually how it used to be, though.
Mm-hmm. And I know, but at the same time, like, I don't think we have made those, decisions yet. Cause like in Big 12, it makes sense. You put Texas and Oklahoma State up at the front, totally get it. But it's like, we're brand new here. So I guess they have to pick an order, but I just feel like it was like,
Go alphabetical except for Texas is what they should.
yeah, we still have things to do, and if they changed it throughout like next season, it makes sense for me. But I think that's me just nitpicking because I don't know. I just felt a little weird for me because it's this whole offseason. It's been this artificial trying to give OU rivalries and like the LSU thing being a rivalry, which we do have hatred for that program. But at the same time, it's like there's still so much to be had that I just kind of want to see it happen. But I feel like what they did, I feel like they didn't really have too much of a choice.
I think a lot of it's one-sided. I get the Missouri thing because we played them a lot, but
and there's a rivalry there, so that makes sense.
I think that will be a thing.
I hope it is, and that should have been on rivalry week. So screw you guys for doing that to us.
Nobody cares about the battle line rivalry or whatever. what Arkansas and Missouri? No, and honestly, like I think we might find rivalries with programs outside of our schedule these next 2 years. I think Arkansas absolutely could be a rival, given the proximity. We're the closest SEC team to Arkansas, weirdly enough.
We're not playing them in the first two seasons in the SEC is a shame. Absolute shame.
It is. It's an absolute shame. A&M, obviously, we've been spicy with in the past. That could be up there, but it has to be decided on the field. We'll get to that when we get to it. I'm excited to see how it all plays out for sure. Let's move on to our next game. So it's Throwback Day.
Ooh-wee!
Yeah, there we go. Got a little retro graphics going on. So we'll have that popping on the weekend spread as well. And our recap. I forgot to update the records. But you know what? Let's go with let's just say it's a Sam Prestian.
Hey, worst 0-0 every week. There it is.
There we go. No, it was intentional. The little Presti chip in my brain activated. Look, this is a game that we were talking about. Do you feel better about the quarterbacks after this week? Do you feel worse about whoever this week? I feel significantly lower on Houston this week, given just how awful they looked against UNLV.
So bad.
Because I liked Willie Fritz. He's given OU problems before, when he was at Tulane. But my God, this program is full of holes, and I feel like OU is in a really good position to win big here.
They benched Donovan Smith.
They actually did? They did end up benching him?
Yeah, they did. And they were doing some change of pace things in the first half where they're bringing in Zion Chris as a backup kind of quarterback that's also mobile, even though Donovan Smith can be doing those things and kind of put him in a wildcat-ish kind of thing. But this Uwe Ale guy came in, threw 7 for 8, 74 yards and a touchdown in the fourth quarter. So, he did the only thing that showed any kind of sign of life for this Houston program because UNLV just handled them. It was an absolute embarrassment what that offense was doing in the first 3 quarters.
Yeah. And I like UNLV. I think they're a solid program, but they should not be doing that to a Power 4 program like Houston, even a new one.
Mm-hmm.
Houston's been way better than this in the recent past. This is bad.
Houston's defense looked decent though versus UNLV because they were put in a lot of bad positions. So if you want to talk big about one thing, Houston's defense looked okay. It's going to be a couple steps up from Temple.
Yeah, that's true. Temple was pretty awful though, so that's fair. So I think this should be a fun one. Got the throwbacks and everything going, so that'll be a cool situation. Under the lights. So I think it'll be a neat game. I think OU just has, I think overall just, tidy up the third downs, don't throw any picks if you're Jackson Arnold, continue to be consistent on that front. And for the love of God, please stay healthy. Health is number one in this whole situation.
OU minus 29.5. We'll go into this on the weekend spread, but interesting. Very, very interesting for what Houston did last week. There's a lot of thought that goes into that.
So it opened at 28 It's already inflating up. We're recording this again on Monday, Monday evening, and get it while you can at this lower number, because I think it'll probably blow up a bit. But right now, I think OU is going to cover that. And I think Houston is a program that is they're kind of turnover prone, which is the worst thing to do, like against OU, who can take advantage of that and did last week. It's not going to be 6 every time, hopefully. Well, hopefully it is. But it's I don't know. I'm intrigued to see how it all shakes out.
Yeah, I think that really the biggest thing to look at here from our Sooners point of view for this game is how can our offense do? I think our defense is going to be great, and they're going against an offense that showed a lot of issues. So we already kind of know what we're getting from our defense. We're going to hyperfixate and really fine-tooth comb this offense. The offensive line, it's going to be disappointing to a point. It's going to be. It's going to need a little bit more time to get at things. The wide receiving thing, though, I need to see a big game from either Brennan Thompson or Nick Anderson, one of those two. And it's not going to be J.J. Hester. I just don't think it's going to be J.J. Hester. But one of those two needs to have 70-plus yards for me to be happy. And I know that is a lot to ask for our team that just threw for 143 yards or whatever. I need to see something from a WR2/3 to make me feel better about this wide receiving room.
It's Zion Kearney's music. Let's go.
Well, let me tell you something. There's no better time than now to put in Zion Kearney.
He had a really good block on the Taylor Tatum touchdown. I'm all about it. I'm rooting for him. I really want him to make an impact.
I'm with you on that. And I like Ivan Carey on Bobby. I'm not gonna lie. Like, even though he's a developmental guy, like, he looked damn good in the preseason game, and then he goes out there as soon as we're not seeing as much from our current wide receiving core, and he gets put in. He did pretty good. He got a catch right off the bat. So the guy gets open. He's long. You never know. But I think it's really even if Nick Anderson isn't fully healthy, I want to see a big Brennan Thompson game.
I would love that. Thompson's a guy that is just such a fun player when he only gets home run balls. I love that about him.
And they're trying to change that, though, too, Bobby. They're trying to make him more of an every down wide receiver, and they're trying that a lot in this offense. But damn, he's due, right? Like, this due for like every other game to get one of those home runs.
Yeah, and this would be a good one to do it. So, yeah, I don't know. Very excited to watch this one. Very excited to recap this one next Sunday. Jamison, any final thoughts before we head on out?
No, I think just putting, a bow on everything OU, there are some concerning things in the content that I wanted to hear, the past couple days, and I wanted to read were the negative things, because that's the things that obviously have the most question marks, and people love question marks. But there's still a lot of positives from this team, and my opinions of what we were, I think it's going net even for this last week. And I think that's pretty damn good, barring all of these injuries. I still feel net even about this program, because there are some positive things I still think outweigh the negative. So I still think, as an Oklahoma fan base, there's still a lot to learn, but at the same time, I don't think it's time to panic.
Yep. I think that's well said. Well said. Because, we still have a couple games to tune it up. We'll what we should do once we hit Tulane, we'll have a state of where everything's at. We'll talk about it in our post
state of the Sooners. We've had one of those before.
Like a little, we'll talk, because we'll talk a lot about Tennessee specifically on that one. Mm-hmm. But we'll make sure to be like, hey, are we okay? Let's make sure we're good. We'll check back in on it. That'll be the time to panic if they're not resolved. But for now, don't be concerned. So,
agreed.
All right. Well, that's all we have for today's episode of the Schooner Pod. We appreciate y'all watching on your Labor Day. We really do appreciate it on, anytime, especially on a holiday. If you want to help support us, just go ahead and subscribe. If you're not, like this channel or like this video specifically, it helps with the algorithm so much. So it spreads us out. It's all good stuff. And of course, if you're watching or listening on our podcast feed as well, hey, give the YouTube a try. It's fun. You got a lot of little visual stuff that you don't, get on the pod. And like if you're also on YouTube and you want to listen to the audio form, that's there too. We will be back on Wednesday to hit another week of the weekend spread. Woof, what a rough week one. We will talk way more about that then. No Bowden Blake for this one, which will be a bummer, but that's fine. Totally understand. But I'm really looking forward to what should be a pretty neat little week 2 slate as we sort of figure out college football. But until then, thank you all so much for listening and watching. We'll see you next time, everybody. Boomer Sooner.